is one of Australia's leading restaurant marketers. He's written 2 best-selling books. And as you can appreciate, restaurants are closed for business predominantly. However, Howard, being Howard, has a unique approach to be able to help his clients navigate this process. So if you're finding that your audience has dried up or your business has had to be shut down by law, then I think you're going to get a lot of value from listening to Howard. Specifically, he's going to talk about how to stay relevant to your market when they can't even open their doors anymore, how to stay positive, and how to navigate this in a really proactive and effective way. He's going to use case studies and examples, and I think you're going to get some pretty bright ideas. But before we get to Howard, a little context. So you're about to sit in on a session from one of our crisis reinvention team, but let me give you some quick context. When COVID started to seriously impact businesses, we mobilized experts from within the Dent community to be able to help business leaders like yourself navigate the difficult decisions across a variety of topics, including how to access finance and grants, to cash management, to human resource law, to marketing and sales strategies, to cool tools and tech that you can use from home, through to high stakes leadership, health, wellness, stress management, not just for yourself, but for your team, and look, a whole lot more. For the full schedule, with more being added every week, visit dent.global/reinvent, and we hope you find it a useful resource. All right, let's do this.
Hi there, and welcome to this presentation called How to Thrive. Thank you, Glenn, for asking me to present this. This is really about how you can thrive and help your clients to, and in my case, when your industry or niche just disappeared. So thank you to COVID-19 and social distancing, the hospitality industry and restaurants in particular were just decimated. So the industry basically disappeared overnight, and yet my business is still surviving, and there's parts of it that's thriving, and so are my clients. And that's part of what I want to share with you today. So let's get started. So those of you that know me through Dent or through KPI, you probably know I'm the guy that works with restaurant owners, and I wrote the book called More Bums on Seats. I've had the company Restaurant Profits for about 17 years. We do marketing for restaurants, and we also are a coaching business. So you'll probably know that about me. I've written 2 books. We work with VAs. I often help people in KPI on how to get set up with VAs and things like that. I fill seminars by sending out my book. I've done posts about that. And also, one of the things that we do that a lot of our competitors don't do, and a lot of people don't do these days, is old school marketing. We still do mail marketing, and it works fantastically well. So that's what you probably know about me. What you probably don't know is that actually I've been in business 20 years, so more than just working with Restaurant Profits. All my businesses that I've run have been remote. I've always worked from home. I've always had people working in other places. So working from home for me right now is not a big deal, and it's not for the people that work with me. I use lots of software that help me to do that, and I'm very happy to share with you the kind of software that we've used for many years. I owned a mail order company which worked very well pre-internet and with the internet, and I also owned an entrepreneurial coaching business. Eventually, we moved into niche marketing for restaurants, and that's the rest is history, as you know. The other thing about me is that I don't work full-time anymore. I work part-time. I work a few hours a day, and most of the time, most years, I try to get at least 12 weeks off to travel. In my background, I'm an ex-social worker and psychotherapist, and a lot of what I'm going to talk to you today is from a mindset point of view. It's going back to that psychotherapy and social work aspect of what I do. And the reason for that is, on a very superficial level, all we do is send out marketing for restaurants, and people come into the restaurants and dine. That's very superficial. Beneath that, there's a lot going on that's to do with psychology. And even though our industry is absolutely decimated, I believe over 80% of restaurants have closed down. Even so, I have 100% of my coaching clients still working with me. And we have 50% of our marketing clients still working with me, even though most places have closed down. And a lot of that reason is because we do so much more than the superficial providing of that service, which is doing marketing. And the funny thing is, the people who never really engaged with us, other than letting us do their marketing, they're the ones that have closed down. The ones that have been resilient because we worked on mindset with them and coached them and supported them, they've stayed open, and some of them are thriving. And I'll go into a bit more detail about that soon. So what I want to do today is work with you to understand how to thrive, for you personally, how to thrive, and also for how you can therefore give that service, give that kind of support to your clients so they survive too. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on the next slide about that. The other thing I want you to know is that while I was running all these businesses and bringing up a child and having a family, I was also, I had a kind of side hustle, which was my wife and I established a personal development company over here in Australia that began in the States. And we brought that company over. It wasn't our company, but we worked in it. We coordinated it. I facilitated in it for around 18 years and worked with thousands of people, literally thousands of people, around their mindset and how they could break out of their comfort zone and be more successful in their lives. So my agenda for today is how you can stay positive and focused, how to become stronger and more successful as a result of you growing through this experience, this challenging experience. How to stay or become even more relevant to your audience. I think that's the major thing that you guys are going to want to know. What I've done in my business. So I'm going to talk about the restaurant business, but not because I know any of you are in the restaurant business. You're not. Probably you're not. But if you look at how I've done what I've done and the reasons why I've done what I've done, you can also look at that for your business, for your niche, for your customers, and do exactly the same. Because what that's done for me is bonded those people with me. So post COVID-19, they're going to still want to be with me. The other thing is there's a lot of people now looking at me because I'm one of the last men standing who's supporting the industry. So once things start going really well after COVID-19, as they will, those people that didn't know about me before or saw me as just one of many will start to be attracted to me because of what I'm doing. I'm going to share a lot of that with you, but please don't think I'm believing that you are restaurant owners. I don't, but I want you to see exactly what I've been doing so that you can model that. Okay, so let's get on. So the success model, this is something that I've worked on for many years, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to go into quite a lot of detail with you on this. And as I said, we do a lot around mindset for ourselves, for our customers, for prospects, for people beyond the restaurant industry. We do a hell of a lot around mindset. Skill set is the things that we're known for, you know, the marketing and things like that, how to do the thing, how to manage it, and so on. So I won't go into a great deal of depth there because it's not going to be of any interest unless you are a restaurant owner. And third force, you've probably never heard of, but this is about accountability on steroids, and it's actually probably the most powerful thing that we can do for ourselves and we can do for each other and for our clients, because it gets people to change their behavior and change their lives. So I'll go into that. And all of this, I'm going to give you a handout at the end. There's 10 pages, a process for you to go through where you can basically go through and look at your own mindset, what you believe in, what you're blocked by, what you can move through, how you can move through, how you can work out what skill sets you need, what your customers need, and then, of course, how to use that for third force on yourself, but also how to teach it to others. So there's a handout at the end for you guys to download and take yourself through that process. And by all means, use it with your clients too. Oh, this model, the Genius model, I was inspired to do this by Simon Bowen, the models guy, who I know personally very well. And I was telling him what I do, and he's drawing on a napkin, and this was the model that came out of it. And I use a lot of his models in my life. So that's credit to Simon Bowen. I didn't make this up. And this is another one of Simon's. So basically, this is looking at where life is right now. We're in chaos. So the orange stripe right there. Most people want to live in their comfort zone. Most of us do. It's where we survive. It's our history is there. You know, everything that we believe in, our behavior, everything about us is inside that comfort zone. And it's very difficult to get outside of it. And nobody wants to go outside of it on their own. Everybody who gets outside of that and wants to make progress actually needs a mentor or a supporter or a coach or someone who's a friend that wants to go through that uncertainty with them. Well, you know, the last few weeks we've been thrown into uncertainty. Our comfort zone's been kind of permeated. It's not being demolished because we still live at home with the same people and so on. And we've got the same friends and we have the same behaviors. But the certainty that we feel inside our comfort zone has definitely gone. People are living in a lot of uncertainty at the moment. A lot of people would describe this new thing as chaos. The truth of the matter is we always live in chaos. We cannot control very much at all, which is why we go back to the comfort zone. But you can be trucking along happily in your job one day and get fired the next day. There's no certainty in having a job. You can be with your partner and having an amazing, loving experience, and something can happen to your partner. They could leave, they could die, anything could happen, and there is no certainty. So what we take as our comfort zone and our certainty, actually it's not. We're always living in uncertainty, but we cling to things that we believe are going to happen regularly, and that makes us feel comfortable. So right now we're outside of that. We're bopping in between comfort zone and uncertainty, and a lot of people don't like being here, and what they'll do is run for comfort. And this is where you need to be a leader. This is where leadership takes place. I'm going to talk about what you do as a leader in a few minutes, but this is where you lead yourself. So you take control of yourself instead of running scared, and then you can lead others, whether that's your family, your community, or your colleagues, your employees, or sure enough, you are going to lead your clients to a place that's outside of the chaos that they're living in now. So right now, the restaurant industry is in absolute chaos. We've gone from restaurants being this thing where people create food in the back, that's like the factory, and the distribution channel is one thing out onto the dining room, the dining table inside the restaurant, and that's their main distribution channel. And now they've been forced into doing takeaway and delivery, and for many of them it's just too much and they've shut down. I actually saw this coming a few weeks ago, and so got ahead of the curve and did a webinar on how to transform your restaurant into a takeaway and delivery business. And this is while the dining rooms were still open. So I did a webinar on this. It was the biggest webinar I've ever done. I got a lot of people register for it. A third of them turned up, which is normal. And I taught them the steps and gave them a handout with lots of tick boxes to take them through it and their staff through it. And so they were ready when this thing came, because I thought this was going to happen. At that time, nobody thought it really would happen. And I, led people. And we led them and innovated their businesses, if we're looking at the left-hand side here, so that they could make progress. So this is the times that we're in right now, and you can step up and lead in exactly the same way. And I'm going to show you the kind of things I did in the industry in about 15 minutes time. But we're going to go through mindset first. So mindset is the top of the success model. And the thing that I would talk to you in a lot of depth about if we had the time is a part about waking up out of the kind of illusion that we have about the way our life is and all of the rules and regulations that we have around our life. So although none of us know it, we're actually almost like a computer program running. So much of what we do on automatic pilot, because we are bombarded with millions of bits of information every single second that we make sense of, and then we take action based on the sense we've just made of all of that input. So in order to do that, a lot of it is just filtered very, very quickly, and all we're looking out for is new information. that we see coming at us, like a car coming around the corner or something like that. So that allows us to get on with our lives. But when we filter everything out except for that new information, we make assumptions. And so a lot of rules are made up. So this is just like it was before. This chair that I'm about to sit on is like the chair that I saw before. We don't have to work out what it is. So we make assumptions about shapes and behaviors and things like that. And consequently, a lot of the things that we do are not serving us. They used to serve us. They're not serving us anymore, particularly when we want to change, but it's just our programmed behavior. Great example of that is when I ask the question of people, which shoe do you put on first on a morning? And people will go, oh, on my left or my right. And I say, why did you put that on? And people look at me kind of, huh? And the whole point of it is you didn't make that decision. That decision was probably made when you were 5 years old, and you've been doing it the same way ever since. And if I am on a 2 or 3 day conference with people, I'll say, tomorrow morning, if you normally put your left shoe on first, put your right shoe on first, and vice versa. And then the next morning, I'll say, who put the other shoe on today? And hardly anybody in the room, and there could be hundreds of people in the room, hardly anybody will have remembered to put the other shoe on. They've just gone back into computerized, automated behavior. So the first thing about mindset is waking yourself up to realize that, hey, that's what I'm doing, and that's why nothing ever changes. The second thing is looking at what stops you changing. And it's not just about being awake. There's a load of things that stops you from doing what it is that you say you want to do. And so we're looking at a lot of depth about what that is. So that might be beliefs about yourself. I mean, I grew up in poverty, so a lot of my beliefs come from saving money and not risking, and lots of things like that that would stop me employing a member of staff or stop me buying the best piece of technology to use. I would go for the cheaper one, which would cause me problems, and so on and so forth. But I had no idea that that was my programming that was making me do that. So we look at waking up, and then we look at what stops you actually getting ahead. And all of this is the stuff that keeps you inside your comfort zone. The other thing is being the cause. So what I mean by that is most people are at the affect. So rather than being at the cause of something, they're at the effect of something. So now we've got COVID-19. My business won't work because of COVID-19. So I'm at the effect of COVID-19. Being at the cause would say, hey, we've got COVID-19. What can we do right now in this moment to cause something else to happen? So for me, what can I do in the restaurant world in order that I can help my clients to work differently so that they'll still work with me? So being the cause rather than saying, oh, well, that's it. All the restaurants are gone. We can't do anything, which would be being at the effect of. So that's what we do in mindset. Obviously here it's kind of an overview of that rather than going into a lot of depth. If I was working with you for a long time, we'd go into that in a lot of depth. And the questionnaire goes into that, so you can go through those questions as well. So the first thing is mindset, mind your head. Please be careful of who you associate with. It's great that you're on this webinar because you're associating with people that are very positive, optimistic, moving in a forward direction, like myself, like the Dent community. The worst thing that you could do is start to look at all the pessimistic, negative things that are happening, constantly looking at the news, constantly looking at social media. That's the worst thing you could do right now. You really need to associate yourself with very positive things, and also look at solutions rather than problems. People that are going to do well now are spending 80% of their time looking at solutions, 20% looking at the problem. People that have got it vice versa are not going to do anything. So the thing that is happening right now, all of us have lost something. All of us have lost something, and so we're in a state of grief. So we've either lost our illusion of how our business would be, we've lost our job, we've lost our customers, we've lost our ability to go outside, we've lost money. So many things that we've lost. And what happens when you're in loss is that you act in a way that is normal for people that are grieving. When people grieve, they actually go into a couple of states which you will be very aware of, which is fight and flight. And what I wanted to propose this slide for was I wanted you to see what Einstein said about this. And he said, the world that we've created is a process of our thinking. So we just stop there at that full stop for now. And what he's talking about is not the physical world. He's talking about the world in our head, the world that we see through our eyes. And we go, that's reality. That's the world that we've created through our thinking. So we might think that everybody dislikes me, for instance. So everywhere I look, everywhere I see evidence of people disliking me and so on. And I've created that experience through my own thoughts. In order to change that world, I have to change my thinking. And that's what he's saying here. Right now, a lot of people are in loss and grief. And they're making it up in their head that the world is a particular way. And that won't change unless they change their way of thinking. So a lot of people are like this. And basically, as I said, it's because they're in grief. And the two behaviors that they will go into are fight and flight. So what you're going to see, what you might even feel yourself, because you're in grief too, is this. You might feel angry about some things. You might see people getting violent. You probably saw those women fighting in the supermarket over toilet paper. So under normal circumstances, they would have never done that. But they're in grief. They're scared. And the one thing they can control is having some toilet paper. And that was more about a fight for control of something than a fight for toilet paper. If they'd have both all taken a step back and thought about what they were doing, they'd have gone, this is stupid. But they're in fight mode, fight or flight mode. So it's a reptile brain. The other thing that you're going to hear a lot of, and you might say it yourself, is why aren't they doing more or better? So people are criticizing the government, the police, all sorts of, why aren't they doing better? So that's a real victim position. I'm a victim of somebody else's decisions, and I'm going to blame them for it. Vitriol, so you're going to hear quite a bit of racism, like this Chinese disease, as Trump said. And nationalism, putting the borders up, not letting anybody in. And although that's okay for social distancing, we're going to be exposed to a lot of nationalism about who's doing well and who's doing better and so on. And the other thing is that people are going to be angry and angry victims. So angry, why me? Why has this happened to me right now? The other things that you're going to see are hoarding and greed and emotional outbursts. The reason I'm giving you this is because if you're feeling any of this, it's okay, it's normal. It's just don't be at the effect of it. It's normal for you to be in grief. The other thing is you might see it in your social circles, you might see it in your staff, and you might see it in your customers. So just be aware this is what they're going through and not to take it personally. The other side of it is flight. So that's the sad victim getting into apathy and depression and withdrawing. Lack of interest in solutions. So all that they are looking at is problems. And when you try to interact with them, they're withdrawn from you. They might get involved in drugs and too much drink. They're going to be obsessing on the problem, maybe even getting into hysteria about how bad it is, bursting into tears, looking at a lot of social media, and also possibly doing self-harm and self-medicating through drugs and alcohol. So this is where we've got to be careful around people suiciding and things like that. So be aware that if somebody's in this state, that you need to reach out and support each other. And one of the things that I'm doing with my customers is that now I'm doing Zoom calls 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, as a mental health service, so that they get together on Zoom, they talk to each other, they support each other, we have a few laughs. It's not long, it's only 15, 20 minutes, but what I'm seeing is that that's so supportive for them. So I'm doing it from a professional point of view, not that I'm being paid for it, I'm doing it as from a health point of view as well. And so I'm doing it for my customers, but also be aware of people in your social circles. And if you're feeling this way, please ask for help as well. Okay, so going back to the Einstein quote, what Einstein said is the world that we have created through our thinking. So imagine these flashlights here, and if you look from the flashlight on the left-hand side, the reality that the person on the left-hand side would see is circle. A person that's behind the flashlight on the right-hand side, what they would believe about the world is oblong or rectangle. And yet they're looking at this same shape. They're just looking at it from a different angle. So if you think about the fight and flight, this is exactly what's going on for those people. This is normally shown as truth. This is true, this is true, and this is the truth. I've put it about reality. So the reason that I've done it this way is because I will defend my reality, the way things are and the way things are not. And I often won't move into somebody else's position to see that they have got a different reality to mine. But as a leader, this is exactly what we've got to do. We've got to go, yes, it's true, COVID-19 is happening, but can I shift into a different reality where I can take people to something that is a solution rather than being stuck in one version of reality? And just for a bit of fun, the one at the bottom, this is real, or is it? So that's from a more philosophical point of view. But the point of this is that we all see our world through our own lens. But if you were to look through my lens, you would be blown away about how I see the world, or maybe really distraught that I see it the way that I do. And the same would go if I was looking at the world through your lens. All of our previous history and experiences develop the way that we see the world. So, somebody that's had terrible time with male partners might say, all men are horrible and you can't trust them. That's their lens that they look through the world through. Has nothing to do with me or any other man. It's to do with the lens that they're looking through. Same, totally opposite, but the same. All women are horrible and so on. And I'm not being sexist. I'm just saying that's the way that we look through a particular lens. And so we get to see the world that way. And in order to be able to shift your mindset and actually lead, you sometimes have to look at life through a completely different angle. And when you do that, that's where opportunities open up. Obviously, this is at a high level. It takes a bit more than just one webinar to get into this stuff properly. So, what to think about? The thing that I want you to think about is leadership. And I love this quote under the headline there. Most people are silently screaming out to be led. I think it was J. Abraham that said this many years ago. I seem to remember it was him. And the thing that comes from that, so you can look at that from one angle saying, oh yeah, that's very interesting. You look at it from another angle and say, okay, so if most people are wanting to be led, that's true for me too, but could I be the leader? And then if you look at these organizations here that I've put down, this is who people look to for these people to lead them. So religions lead people. They tell people what to do, how to behave, and the consequences of behaving one way versus another. So people surrender their personal way of being and their mindset and hand it over to religious leaders. Same with governments and politicians. The governments are telling us what to do. Really interesting. People were saying, why can't I pull my kids out of school? Why are you making kids go to school? Tell you what, if I didn't want my kids in school, I'd be taking them out. I wouldn't be waiting for politicians and government to lead me. I would do what I wanted to do. But some people sent their kids to school because the government said they had to be there. So that's leadership. They're looking to be led. And then you've got organizations like the EU and NATO and the United Nations World Health Organization. People join the armed forces and law enforcement to be led. They get told what to do, when to do, how to do it, and so on. Some people are led by royalty, believe it or not. I still find that really hard to believe, but they look to the king to tell them what to do. They surrender their own imagination and so on and wait for the king or the queen to tell them what to do. Business leaders like us can tell people what to do. And of course, business leaders at higher level like Elon Musk and Richard Branson and so on can tell us what to do, and people follow. We pay money to go and listen to these people speak. Then you've got motivational speakers, people like Tony Robbins and so on, Deepak Chopra, Oprah Winfrey and so on, motivational speakers. You've got influencers, which is just, to me, crazy, but People on Instagram that are posting pictures of themselves, and because of those pictures, people will go and do things when these influencers maybe don't have any qualifications or experience in what they're telling people to do. Then you've got course leaders, people like Dent, KPI, myself, that tell people what to do, and then you've got the media. So all of these things are leading people in a particular way, thinking or behaving. And you can be a leader too. And I certainly am. And I lead my industry, and I lead my clients by sharing my thoughts as well. And this is a fantastic time for you to step up and lead. Just think about all of these things here, religious leaders and what they've done to children, and yet we've trusted them as if they know what they're doing. Royalty, and what we're seeing that royalty have potentially been doing as well, and so on. So you don't have to be a good person or even a bright person to be a leader. These people prove that. And if you are good and you are bright, then you can be a leader too. So this is a great time to step up, to move people out of their comfort zone, across that bridge of survival, and into a much brighter future. All right, talking of which, when we talk of comfort zones, most of the time it's like a black ring on a white paper, but I actually think that this is more accurate for me. When I have to do something to get outside my comfort zone, the outside of it seems very dark and challenging and hard. And what I've represented here is what it actually feels like. But in order to change, we actually have to push through that barrier and go into this space, this unknown, this discomfort rather than comfort zone, in order to hit the targets that we've put out there. And it's very difficult for people to go out there, particularly in times of stress like now. And that's where you can step up and take people out there. For those of you who don't know this guy, David Goggins, he talks about the 40% rule, which is when you get to the edge of your comfort zone, your mind, your body will be screaming, oh, it's too tough out there, turn back. And so your comfort zone might be something like that you drink every day and you want to stop drinking, and you get to the end of the day and you go, oh, well, maybe today I'll keep going because it's been a really tough day, so I will have a drink, or exercise, or diet, or starting a business, or finding a partner, or leaving a partner. On the edge of your comfort zone, there's going to be an internal battle between you who wants to get out and you who wants to stay safe. And what he's saying here is when you get there and your mind and body is trying to stop you getting out, you've got 60% more in reserve. If you've never read this guy's book, I really, really recommend it. It's called Can't Hurt Me. It's one of the most motivating books I've ever had. I haven't read it. I've got it on Audible, and it's fantastic. If you get it on Audible, you actually get 50% more than the book. You get the book read to you, but each chapter, this guy actually talks about what's going on in the chapter. I can't recommend it enough. It's one of the best books I've ever had in my life. I'm finding it incredibly motivating, particularly now. So, yeah, I really recommend it to you. So I'm thinking that this is you right now, that you want to be strong, you want to get outside your comfort zone, you want to lead people outside of their comfort zone. So this is what Seneca said about that. What are you looking at? To what goal are you straining? And then this is this wonderful piece here. The whole future lies in uncertainty. So outside of the comfort zone, so live immediately. So the whole future lies in uncertainty. And so instead of waiting for uncertainty to become certainty, live immediately. So live now, right in that uncertainty, because we're always living in chaos. Anyway, I love that quote. This is one of the things I'm going to talk about a couple of times, but responsibility, I think of this as a superpower, you being responsible. And most people don't like this word because when we were taught this word, when we probably first heard this, it was, you're responsible for that, you're guilty, you are to blame. So responsibility had a lot to do with guilt and blame. But if you look at it like your ability to respond to a situation, COVID-19 is here, and I have the ability to respond to this. I'm going to take responsibility for myself, for my family, for my business, for my clients. I'm going to take responsibility to lead them somewhere else. That's the power of this word. I am going to take responsibility. I have the ability to respond to this situation. The alternative to that is I am not going to be able to respond. It's too big for me. I can't see a way through it. I've lost everything. I'm a victim to this situation. So one end of the continuum is being a victim. The other one is being proactive, being at the source, being at cause rather than effect. And the only way to be at cause of change, is to act responsibly, and you take responsibility for that. I think this word is an amazing superpower. Again, I could go on for a long time about this. We don't have time today. But it's one of the things that's really shaped my life since I took this up to heart. So, things to think about, and all of these questions, by the way, are in the handout that I'm going to give you. But what is it that you want to do? I mean, if you could reinvent yourself right now, what would you want to do? Like in behavior terms, like there was a lot of people that really needed to work in the office, and now they're working from home. It might be that they say, "Oh, I really like to work from home." So from future onwards, what I want to do is work from home. It could be that they're working from home and they go, "I hate this. I need to work from a shared space or from an office." But the thing is, really, you're thinking about, well, what do I want to do? We're all on pause at the moment. So we can reinvent ourselves, we can reinvent our businesses. So if you're going to do that, what is it that you want to do? Who do you want to work with? What kind of people do you want to work with? How do you want to work? What do you want to be known for? Your values. And again, I could spend hours talking to you about values and company values and so on. But if we bring it down to what do you want to be known for? Honesty, integrity, quality, fun, whatever is your values. But being overt about that, so that when you are then sending out your marketing pieces and your branding pieces, that's entwined in that, so people know that. And what's that worth? Like looking at, okay, if I'm going to work with these people in this way, with these values, what do I expect paying for that? So looking at your worth so that you can reject people who want you to work for less than that, or they want things for free, that you actually have put a value on, so you can reject that. So then doing the inverse of 1 to 5, what don't I want to do? Who don't I want to work with? How do I not want to work? And what do I not want to be known for? And so on. Question number 7, the red asterisk after it as well. What could I do? What would I do if I couldn't fail? And that's not a magic wand question. I don't want you to say, well, I would, beat Tesla to Mars. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is, with all the current restrictions that you have, like your bank account, your knowledge, your resources, your people, with that in place, still, what would you do if you couldn't fail? So it might be that you want to run, I don't know, a digital marketing agency, but you don't have one, you don't know anything about it, your staff are working within your accountancy business, you don't have a real lot of money to invest in going to university. But if you couldn't fail, if at the end of a process, maybe it's a few weeks, a few months, a few years, you could have your digital marketing agency, you couldn't fail, you were going to have it, would you go for it? And then you go and look for the resources that you need. So if the answer is yeah, I would actually go for it, that's something I really, really want to do, then you will find a way, and you just start to research, where can I get the information? How can I start to implement the behaviors that I want to have? How can I do it for free? How can I do it cheaply? How can I do it effectively and share that effective resource that I've just created? And so on and so forth. So what would you do if you couldn't fail? And so right now, part of what I'm doing is pivoting part of my business and looking at an area of things that I love. I love coaching. I mean, I've got a marketing business, I've got a marketing agency, but I actually love coaching. And so for me, that's where I'm working towards. And right now I've got coaching clients, which I'm really enjoying. but I would really like to build up a bigger coaching company. So that's where I'm headed, and I'm working really focused on that. I wouldn't say hard, but I'm working really focused on that so that I can grow that. And when you look at what stops me, it's like, what gets in your way? What are the thought processes? I couldn't go up against Tony Robbins, for instance. I couldn't go up against such and such. So that might stop me, or it might not. So you look at your thought process. And again, as I said, this is all in the handout in that process, so you can go through it. Then when you're thinking about them, so that was thinking about you, this is thinking about them. What's the reality of their situation? So what is going on for your client group right now, and having a brave conversation with them. So maybe ringing them. I and my team talked to every single one of our clients when this all broke. We rang every single one of them and talked to them and said, what's going on? Let's have a talk. What do you need? What can we do? How long can you last? Can you pivot? And so on. We had really brave conversations with people, really pushed them to open up and be honest with us. What do they need right now? What is it that you can provide as a resource right now that they would either take from you for free, or they would buy from you, or you could develop a new style of business providing this right now? If they're B2B, so if, like me, we work with restaurants. So if you're B2B, what do their clients need? So what do the diners of my restaurants need? Well, right now, obviously, they need takeaway, they need delivery, they need toilet roll, they need alcohol, they need groceries, they need contact, they need to feel like they're connected to the community. So all of those things I've been working on with my clients to provide. So my clients are providing all of those things right now. If you're working B2C, what do they need as a human? So if your clients are just directly customers at home, they don't own businesses, what do they actually need right now? And again, you can have those brave conversations and then look at how you can coach them to have those outcomes that they want, and how you can support them and maybe build a brand new business out of that. What will they need after COVID-19? So for my clients, it's about, we're trying to keep the wheels rolling so that when we take off again, we're not going from a standing start, and that we're actually going from a moving situation. So they need to be moving. They need to be growing their databases, because we do database marketing and so on. So what you've got to think about is, what do my clients, what are they going to need now that we can do right now, so that when we're on the other side of COVID-19, they can take off really fast. And the other thing is for you to remember, for them to remember you, because you were the leader here. So what you do to support them, what you do to lead, they will remember it, because other people have gone, they've disappeared, they've got their head in the sand. You are standing up and leading, and people will remember this. Okay, so we're going to look at skill sets. And as I said right at the start, what I'm going to show you is what I have been doing with my clients. Now, I know you and your clients are not restaurateurs. But what I want you to think about is, Howard's doing this because it works this way, and they feel very supported by this. Or I could do exactly those same things, just tweak them and do it for my marketing. So I'm not teaching you about restaurant stuff. I'm just using it as an example of what we've actually done. So in skill sets, we look at the skills, the things that are needed in order to provide the service. So with my clients, we're delivering for them marketing and sales and training and coaching. We also look at what processes have got to be in place. So we will train them and support them around putting processes into their business, and then we show them how to manage those processes. So that's our skill set side. You might have different things there. What I'm going to show you today, though, is the skills, the things that we've been doing for them and with them. Okay, so there's two areas. There's the present, which is what's going to make their business survive, and then there's a future, what's going to make their business thrive. Okay, so this one's survival. All right, so what I did was I ran the pivot webinar, the how-tos of pivoting into takeaway and delivery. I organized a private Facebook group. So what I did, that I already had this private Facebook group, but I invited non-clients, people who attended the webinar, to come inside. So now I've got a private Facebook group with twice as many people in there. It's not a massive one, but I'm actually talking directly to restaurant owners all the time in there now. I set up clients-only Slack groups, so I can talk to my clients directly and they can talk to each other. That's a fantastic strategy. Works incredibly well. I'm doing update videos publicly on the Restaurant Profits page and in the private Facebook group as well. I'm giving them resources that they can use for free. I'm researching the web and having friends research the web about what's working, what's not working, and I'm sharing that. I'm doing real-time case studies of what's working right now in the restaurants that we're working with. I'm doing daily ongoing resources and help, which I'll show you some of that. And also, I'm doing Zooms. I'm doing 1 hour-long Zoom a week with my coaching clients. That's far more than I would have given them before. They normally would get a 4-hour Zoom every 6 to 8 weeks. Now they're getting a 1 hour Zoom every single week. And then on my other client group, they're getting Monday, Wednesday, Friday check-ins. And as I said, that's really for mental health. And as I said, I've got 50% of my marketing clients are still working with me. One actually closed down, dropped off, and then a few days later decided they were going to open up. They've come back. So I've actually signed somebody up inside this chaos that we're in at the moment. And the other thing is all of my coaching clients are still with me. And for restaurant owners, coaching is cream. It's not necessary. It's a nice to have, and they've all stayed with me. And I think it's a lot to do with what I'm doing around mindset and supporting them and pushing them as a third force. Okay, so that was to survive. This is for what comes when we get across this bridge, this COVID bridge, and we're on the other side of it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm checking in with our suppliers to know what they're doing, because one of our suppliers, for instance, is our email partner. And so we use their platform to send millions of emails on behalf of our clients. I need to know that they're going to survive and that they're up. Because afterwards we're going to need them. If they're going to go down, we need to grab all of the lists from there and stick it into MailChimp or somewhere like that. So I'm checking in with them all the time on a friendly basis, saying, how are you going, so on and so forth. They're supporting me. They've actually said they'll do things for free for me, so that's fabulous. We are also getting into a lot of groups like Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups and things like that to find out what's going on the internet so that we can share that with our people. We're looking to partner with suppliers and providers of solutions. So we're doing that, like I'm giving information to different people so they can push it out. So my resources are getting shared out there, but the whole point of that is they get to look good for it as well, because they're sharing really important information out with their distribution channel. After COVID-19, I'm going to go back to those partners, those suppliers, and say, okay, I helped you with this. Now I need you to help me with growing my business. Sending out support, hope, and resources to ex-clients. So I've gone back to people who've stopped working with us, didn't like us, or didn't get results from us for whatever reason, and then I'm now sending hope and support to them. And the idea behind that is that I actually love the industry. I want the industry to survive, whether they're my clients or not. But the other thing is that they'll see that I'm still standing with doing what I've been doing for a long time, and that I actually care about them, and hopefully they'll come back to us, or some of them will come back to us. Also reaching out to others in the niche. So Australian Pork have sponsored me in the last couple of years to do talks and presentations and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actually reaching out to them and saying, what can I do for you? I just did another podcast or a webinar for Australian Pork for free, just to help them. So again, I'm sending information their way so they can circulate it as well. And the other thing is broadcasting help out to the web. So just going out on my personal page and sending out resources that way and asking people to share that. And again, so that the whole industry sees that things are going out there for free, and I'm here and I'm supporting people and I'm doing great things. They're also seeing that my clients are getting fantastic results as well. So these are the kind of things that we've shared. And again, I know you're not restaurant owners, but it's just to give you an idea. So we did the pivot webinar, and then I shared this checklist. So everybody who registered for the pivot webinar got the video to see. So the third that turned up got the video to see. The 2/3 that didn't turn up got the video to see. They were all invited into the private Facebook group. And then we started to do graphic design for them. And honestly, I just went in Canva and started to do graphic design, and I got my graphic designers to do the same, just to generate things that we could give straight to the industry that they could put on their pages. So, all the restaurant owners that wanted to could do this red box at the bottom. The other thing is that I follow a lot of our clients and ex-clients and people who I like in the industry to see what they're doing. And so I started to share some of the things that were working. So DiMatteo is a good friend of mine. And I support them. They're a local place. I support them. They're not a client, but I tell them things that they could and couldn't do or shouldn't do. And this is Stella, who owns it, actually showing that she sold out of takeaway, and all she did was put this on Facebook. So I shared this around so people would know that this is the way to do it. The other thing is we've done graphic design. Paulie Mack, the guy in the middle, is doing cooking classes for kids because his business is around kids. Up at the top in the middle, that's a takeaway family meal that's worked really well for Murphy's Bar. The guy on the right-hand side, Clint, he did a 3-minute video about how he's supporting the community. So he walked up the strip where his restaurant was, and he was saying, this shop is open, this fish and chip shop used to be dine-in, now they're doing takeaway. And he was going around and he was talking about how by people ordering from him, they were able to keep his staff in business. They were able to order from local suppliers. They were able to help the local dairy farmer and the other farmers. And so just by ordering from him, you were supporting the whole community. So that video did incredibly well. The night he put that out, he did 515 takeaway orders. Some restaurants might do 10 takeaway orders. He did 515. So we're sharing these ideas on the internet for everybody. So some of it we're creating ourselves, some of it is our clients, some of it I'm just seeing on the internet and then sharing it so other people can do the same themselves. This is a big strategy that I put together for one of our clients. So this is a Facebook ad, and we do this a lot with chatbots. I think I've shared this before with KPI. But basically, this is a Facebook ad to eat for free. It's a competition. So you click on that, and then you go and fill in a competition. At the same time, in the background, that information that you've clicked on there goes into the chatbot. Then what you can see on the right-hand side is the results after 2 days for the Facebook ad. So in 2 days, it had been seen by 2,388. We got 230 results. So 230 people came into the competition. I think it's over 700 people now. Cost per lead, 7 cents female and 9 cents male. On top of that, you can see that the vast amount of people that are looking on the internet and entering competitions are female. So there's a bit of insider information for you. And in this case, the peak age is 35 to 44. So I've said to this restaurant lots of times, be posting out about family meals and things like that. This is the database that's been collected through that. So this is once they put the data into the competition, it goes into here. And this is what has happened because the chatbot sends out a discount voucher and says, order tonight, you get 20% off takeaway. So they did $1,000 on Wednesday night, $2,000 on Thursday night, and double that, so $4,000 on Friday night. It was mind-boggling to manage, and we had lots of chaos, but got there in the end, and we haven't discounted the main menu. The other thing to know about that is that they were doing this, and we drew the winner. I think they had got up to about 380 entries at that time. and we drew the winner. I drew it. I just asked the restaurant owner to think of a number, and they gave me the number. I looked on the spreadsheet, somebody's name, we picked it out. And what was lovely is it was a nurse. And they were able to post on their Facebook page that this nurse had won to eat for free until COVID-19 is over. So once a week, they get a food package delivered to their family, pizzas, pastas, breads, drinks, that kind of thing, delivered to the family every week until COVID-19 is over. And it was lovely. It was a nurse. And the competition's rolling on. So it's going on and on and on until the end of COVID-19. So at the same time, they're driving takeaway business in. They're also growing their database so that once we get through this, the database will have grown by a few thousand. And once we get through it and we start doing celebration meals and birthdays and anniversaries for people that missed out, they will be absolutely slammed. So strategy for you there starts with Facebook ad, goes into chatbot, goes into a landing page, grows a database. So you're doing something to drive business in right now and also growing the database for the future. Okay, so that was about restaurants, and I do know that, but if you think about how could you use any of that, whether it's just sharing information that you're seeing, it's just a great thing to do, and it will secure you as a position of a leader into the future. All right, so I'm going to talk about this stuff now, third force, which you probably haven't heard of. I was introduced to it by ISA, which is the Institute for Self-Actualization, the organization that I brought over to Australia and ran for 18 years. So it's not my information, it comes from them, but I found it incredibly profound in my life. And I'm going to give you an example that you really understand as a member of the DENT community, and how it helped me to create my books. So in green, third force, accountability, respondability, and feedback, and that's third force. So I'll go into it in a bit of depth. So the thing is, why is it impossible to get out of the comfort zone on your own? Well, it's this thing here. So when you actually want to get out of the comfort zone, you get pushed back in because it's part of your survival. You are alive on this planet at the moment because all the things that you've done up to now have allowed you to survive. If you go outside that comfort zone, you might get eaten by a lion, or you might fall off a cliff, or you might put yourself in danger where all of your money goes, and money equals survival, equals food and things like that. So when you want to get outside your comfort zone, you're going to run into the barrier there and bounce back inside. So it's very difficult to get outside on your own. As I said before, people need support. They need you as a mentor, as a guide. They need friends. They need a pathway to get outside of their comfort zone. So one of the things you can do is that you can offer accountability. So somebody might say, I want to write a book, and the book mentor in KPI might say, okay, well, you've got to do 1,000 words a day. And you say, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then you're on your own the next day, and do you or don't you do it? Well, that's kind of up to you. There's nobody there to see you. But if you've got an accountability buddy that's going to ring you at the end of the day and say, did you do it or not? Then you're more likely to do it, because one of the things that I know is that we'll let ourselves down. We'll get back into bed instead of going to the gym when it's raining on a morning, but we won't let our friend down that stood outside in the rain waiting for us. So if there's someone else that you're going to let down, then you're more likely to do it. Now, some people see accountability as blame and now I'm going to be embarrassed and blah, blah, blah. Other people see it as a force for good. For me, it's a force for good, and I've really benefited from it for the last 25 years. The other thing is the ability to respond. Part of a third force is that, you say you're going to do something and then something happens. David Goggins was going to run a race, and he found out he had shin splints. He got his shins were broken. He strapped his legs up and he ran a 100-mile race with shin splints. So he ran it on broken legs. And most people would go, I can't do that. I'm not able to do it. I can't run on broken legs. He decided he was going to do it. He'd given his word he was going to do it, strapped his legs up and he did it. Not suggesting you do that kind of thing, but you could get out of bed and write 1,000 words. So it's like, I am going to respond despite the fact that it's freezing cold, it's winter, I'm going to have to get out of bed and I'm going to have to go write my 1,000 words. You have the ability to respond to the situation and go do it. And the other thing is about feedback. And I watched the Green Book the other day, and I saw feedback in action. So for those of you who've seen the film, you'll remember this scene where the guy in the front has stolen something from a shop, and the guy in the back, he's telling him to go take it back. And that's at a superficial level exactly what's happening here. But let's put it in context. And for those of you who have not seen the film, you should see the film. It's very, very good. So let's put it in context. It's 1962 in America, and black people are still seen as a lower level group of people, less intelligent, and so on and so forth. The guy on the front is an Italian American involved with the mafia, doing okay. He's not got a great job, but he's doing okay. He's loved by his family, lives in a decent enough place. He's making good money. He's a bit of a wheeler and dealer, and so he's seen as one of the good guys in his community. And then the guy in the back, obviously, is Afro-Caribbean. He's actually a doctor, but he's not a doctor of medicine. He's a doctor of philosophy and music and something else. So he is going on a musical tour of the Deep South, and the guy in the front is his chauffeur. But when you look at the power situation here, the person with the power is the man in the front, because he's white, American, and they're in a very dangerous area. He has all the power. If he walks out of this car and leaves the black guy on his own, the black guy is in serious trouble in the Deep South. And he really has no power over the white guy yet. What he's doing here, he's saying to the white guy, you are better than this. Go put that back. You do not want to be a thief, and it's not the right thing to do. So even though he's powerless, he's acting in a very, very powerful way. The guy in the front doesn't want to hear any of this, and he takes affront to being told what to do. But the guy in the back, he gives him feedback, really strict, between the eyes feedback, and in the end he gets out of the car to take the thing back. And it was a really powerful example of somebody talking to power in a feedback way. So when you give feedback, I want to explain this in a very interesting way. So if you and I are in a relationship and I ask you to be my third force, I'm asking you to give me feedback. And it's a really interesting relationship. So if you are going to give me feedback, you're willing to support me, and you're focusing on my goals, the thing that I want to achieve, and not your needs. So your needs might be to be liked by me, not to be shouted at, to not be rejected. But you put that all aside, and you are going to tell me what I need to hear in order that I achieve my goal. Just like in the Green Book, that guy in the back, he had to put all of his needs for safety and security to one side and focus on the guy in the front to help him to become a better man. So vice versa, if I'm doing it for you, I don't want you to reject me, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear in order that you do the thing you said you were going to do. Okay, so courage. I'm in telling you what you need to do in order that you get the results that you said you wanted. I'm risking your rejection. And rejection is about primal need. I want to be included in the tribe. And if you reject me, I could be thrown out of the tribe. And if I'm thrown out of the tribe in a primal sense, I could lose my life. And that's where you've heard stories of Aboriginal societies where they got the bone pointed at them and they had to leave the group that they were in, and they died in the wilderness. This is the same idea. It's like when I have the courage to tell you something that you don't want to hear, because you want to be slippery around your agreement that you were going to write 1,000 words. Well, I wrote 800, and then I have to tell you that's not good enough. You said 1,000. Yeah, but it was really hard, and I was getting really late, and I had to go to work, and you said you were going to write 1,000. I have to risk your rejection, your anger at me, so that you get to achieve your goal. So to support someone, you have to have courage. I'm going to sacrifice my most precious resource for you. I'm going to sacrifice my life, my time. So you've got to be generous when you're giving somebody this kind of support. And also the way to do it is to say, this is my experience of you. You do this over and over again. You say you're going to do something and then you don't do it. And you come up with all these slippery excuses. I'm not saying you're a bad person. What I'm saying is this is my experience. I've seen this over and over again. What I see you do is, I see you do blah, blah, blah. So the top there is me giving somebody feedback. On the bottom, the person receiving feedback, this is what they need to do, is to be respectful of my opinion. So if I've said, this is what I see of you, the thing to do is to be humble and go, you know what, I don't like hearing this, but yeah, I guess that is the way that I am. And then the other thing is being gratitude, saying thank you for being willing to take the time to support me and to be so honest. Okay, so that's the success model. We went through it quite quickly. Hopefully you've got to see how powerful that is. The reason that I think you can thrive through this is it's a personal development model. But the other thing is the reason that I believe that my clients are still bonded with me despite the bloodbath in our industry is because I work on all of these three areas with them. So I work on their mindset. I make them question their beliefs and their values and make them become much more aware of what's available for them other than the single dining room. We've got restaurant owners that run yoga classes in the restaurant. We've got restaurant owners that take customers overseas on cuisine tours. When they first started with me, they just had a kitchen and a dining room. We wake them up to other opportunities. And then when they see that can't be done, we look at what's getting in the way, because of course it can be done, and so on. So we work on their mindset, we deliver their skill set, and we give them feedback. We're really straight with them, and they appreciate it. I mean, if you've ever had great coaching, you really appreciate people being dead straight with you. Okay, so this is the handout that I've been talking about. So this takes you through that whole process so that you can get really clear about what it is you want to do, what you want to achieve, who you want to work with, so on and so forth. Also having a look at the skill sets, what is it that you can do for other people and what you can do for yourself. And then finally going into that power of third force. And I'll take you through a process where you'll actually get to choose something you want to do, like writing a book, and then looking for the right person to act as that third force. And it can't be your best friend, and it can't be your romantic partner, otherwise you can end up in terrible situation there. It's got to be someone that's external to you. And once you've got these three things in place, you will be unstoppable. So if you want to have that, please go to my website, howardtinker.com/success, and you can download it directly from there. Also, if you need help with this, please reach out through my all of my connections, which I'm sure Glenn's going to share with you. And if not, through howardtinker.com, you can email me at howard@howardtinker.com. And hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you want any clarification on anything that you've seen or heard here today, please contact me and I will happily support you to make sure you thrive through this chaotic situation that we're in right now. Thank you very much, and good luck.
For more expert talks, just visit dent.global/reinvent, because we believe that the decisions that you make now matter more than ever. We started Dent 10 years ago in the middle of the GFC in London, and we shared the key person of influence methodology as a tool to be able to help businesses thrive despite the chaos. Today, it's a best-selling book, and over 3,000 businesses use the methodology like an operating system for driving performance. And we've learned that regardless of economic conditions, that your primary focus as a founder should be showing up as the go-to brand, the key person of influence in your industry. More important than systems or social media, more important than Facebook videos or launching a website, the goal of showing up as the key person of influence in your industry should be the organizing force. It should be the primary objective that helps align all your other decision making. because as your influence and reach expands, it becomes easier and cheaper to attract clients, team, media, even investors. When times are tough, it's the key people of influence that become even more valuable and even more in demand. And if you've been in business for a while, you're probably a lot closer than you think. So every week that this COVID-19 thing continues, I'm going to be hosting a weekly talk to be able to help business leaders like yourself recalibrate their focus so they can make the most of the times that we're in. If you're interested in jumping on a Zoom and saying hi with me, you can find the link to register for my sessions as well as all of the crisis response team sessions at dent.global/reinvent. If you found this useful, let us know. My name's Glenn Carlson, and please be brave, have fun. Let's go make a dent in the universe.